see. What I want to see. Yeah, organizational sales we want to see, and organizational finance we want to see.
Want to see, right?
Okay.
Then I want to know who are the heads, the management heads. Next level case.
Okay.
Talk to him.
And so this is organizational, what you call that, the entire organ structure. What do you call
Structure. Artery.
Okay, then you want to see organ structure and
Organization. Then contact number of those people. How do you contact them?
okay.
Right?
Organ structure will have context.
Yeah, I want to contact. I will send email. Right? I will communicate. So this is my bigger picture of the business level.
Okay.
Then what next management.
Okay. Management. Yeah.
Right? So management involves the entire management of Gurukulas, the content, everything. So content is getting generated, Puri Chetana, is getting distributed at various schools.
Okay.
Okay. The right content is getting distributed, right version is there.
Okay. Content management.
Content side.
Okay.
Okay. Then students admission is happening. Students are allocated proper. The allocation are done by lower guys, but this guy should know. These many students have been allocated.
So overall enrollment.
Overall enrollment. Okay. Past statistics, fail statistics, average. It's like dashboard. What a management dashboard you can create. So how many people have completed studies? How many people have not completed studies?
Okay.
Student data, then finance data of each Gurukul also. Finance data of each Gurukul also. Financial situation of each Gurukul.
Operational data and finance
Operational
data.
data, financial data. If for him at the Gurukul level, you should know bigger picture, all Gurukul together, click and you know each Gurukul.
Okay. Okay.
Just guide what I'm doing. I'm online downloading.
No.
Not
The structure. So this is at country, state, region, and at central levels.
yeah.
Management of these things.
So what is management? Definition of management is I should be able to allocate resources, monitor the operation, deallocate.
Okay.
That's what management is. Allocate a resource utilization basically.
Okay.
Okay. And what is resource utilization? Right? What is resource here for him? Center heads are center resources. Their utilization. Is he performing well or not performing well? Performance data. Okay. So then somebody country head have fire. Then what is the rebalancing I have to?
Okay. Okay.
So basically, a management means there are set of resources, how efficient I am using the resources, and how to allocate it. So how to deal this is what management. So for me, resources are nothing but all these heads, no, operate this thing. What is the school now? For him, for business level, that's the this thing. That will be a view.
Correct. So this is the management.
Management.
Correct. Okay.
So then administration. It is most basic. Resources of the Gurukula. Gurukula have science kit, lab kit, physics kit, chemistry kit, biology kit, all the kits. And operation of the Gurukula.
Who takes care of infrastructure? So there is an infrastructure at overall level and.
No, I'm saying we don't own anything central. We have view of that. Everything is owned by Gurukula.
Who is the lowest business head?
Plus it is central.
Centered. So
Central.
how do you like whether centered is profitable or not for the organization?
That's the each center has number of students. The finance model will give tell me now.
Which
Finance model, cost expenditure of each center. It will give finance model. Now I have input of finance model now. The finance model is there, no connected, no?
If I'm understanding, while the business head will and the country heads will look at this, the state and regional heads will be more looking at this. From here on, you want to look at
No, business head will look at all the view up to
all
center head.
yeah,
Okay.
up to center.
The management of the business, he will have a view. Management means resources, utilization, efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is here.
Hmm.
So overall, fine. Now what I'm looking at is at the admin level.
Admin
Are
level.
we, is the center head act?
Center is looking at the admin. Center head is the
Correct.
center head is business at this side. This side is admin head. He is looking at the admin part.
Okay. So this is the center head position.
Center head is there.
And he is outside the management position and also.
Yeah, right. Okay. So he is looking at what resources we have, what resources we have get, what resources have been invoiced, what flags have raised to the management.
Okay.
All right. It's like what is it? Trouble ticket.
Resource management.
Yeah. Trouble ticketing. All right. Then the uniforms, school uniforms, all administrative issues, discipline, throwing out a student, admission, discipline, and all part of admission. And other part is academic process is there, that side, which is actually school student admission, his grades, his marks, his examination.
Okay.
You can jump all of them in administration only.
Yeah, admission. Yeah, right. So all this.
The student life cycle, basically.
Okay. Student groups. Okay. Now, this is from the management view.
Yeah.
Now, from the corresponding technical view. So, at the
Next level you go. Mentors. For mentors, no? Mentors are more connected with the student mate. They should know what is happening to the student mate. What should I do with the particular project? Like student mate, and teacher mate, right? Teacher mate, you have generated the teacher content. Now, a part of copy has to produce what mentor has to do for this. So that is going to mentor mate.
Yeah.
So that is not done now. Right?
That is not written.
Mentor part is not done.
Yeah.
Is it clear, Anupama? So, in one experiment, gravity experiment is there. What mentor should do for that experiment? It should also be did by mentor, teacher mate.
So, mentor will should also get student mate statistics and teacher mate statistics. Or
Teacher statistics is not. Doesn't need
how many have been generated, how many, what are the new,
he won't know. He just execute. That's all. He's execution. He doesn't have to get into it. I don't think he has a bigger picture. He says day-to-day execution. Okay. But
So-
he has to more focus on students. Student progress, helping students. For every student project, what should I do? So this for the mentor, you will get a content from a teacher mate.
Okay. Okay. So, content is from teacher mate.
Yeah. So here administration also involves administration of mentors and all, like staff faculty. So which involves their salary, their perks, their bonus.
Okay, faculty management is part of admin.
Yeah. Okay. Money, them some incentive, recognition,
Okay.
all those things. Plus this also training of faculty. It's like a continuous. The faculty should be on toes, learning everything new things. They should have exposure to AI. They should have exposure to spirituality. All those things.
So, training faculty.
Training faculty. It's like on-job training. Every year, every week, they have to take it sometime.
It is at this level or even this level? Management.
Management has a view by how many people are trained and all.
Okay.
See, actually, you should start from lower level. Progressively, you have to reduce it's like a lower level, too many details are there.
Okay.
So your abstraction will reduce the
Correct.
Right. So if you
So this is the view, but this is where the actual training
Yeah.
is handled.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the other things, the from that side, we have organizations and the content management from here, which is what content has to be put in what level, and we are also looking at Google level data here, correct?
Yeah.
And center level, not Google, center level data.
Yeah. You have to think of abstraction like Gurukul cluster, Gurukul region level data like that.
Yeah. So center level data, here onwards, we get regional
Yeah.
data here.
Yeah.
Regional state data, that is at the management view. But a particular center level data is from the admin view. Okay.
Each individual curriculum will also have a shared identity. You have so many suppliers and vendors, I know my own.
So that's the admin data.
Okay. And this.
You mark it, you have to buy it.
That don't be good.
I don't-
So this is at the admin level and the academics level, at particular the school level, the students, teachers, mentors,
Yeah.
there. So these are at this level.
Yeah. So basically, what you define short,
And also this is school admin. School
Yeah.
admins.
So basically, we have to start from lowest level of abstraction. What are the resources, people, material, utilization, then progressively.
Yeah, database, like what he said, will start from here, but to come to that, first we need a high level view.
Yeah.
Actual database will fill from the
Bottom,
lowest
bottom,
things,
bottom.
bottom. Yeah. Okay. So at the faculty level, the actual, these differences of the NEOS activities.
Yeah.
No, we have at that time looked at 4 activities, NEOS and the ILIT, there's 4 things that we looked at parallel to NEOS. What are the other things? Last time.
You write in bold,
Huh?
it's only the open bold.
See, I have made syllabus as
No,
A, B, C.
education was, NEOS was one, but.
No, I said in my picture, A, B, C, D, 4. A is 4 syllabus, NIS. B and C is IBIT, spiritual program. D is nothing but the competitive exam, NEET and all. But that is not at this stage.
That's not at this.
So, at the top level, at the business level, we have 2 product offerings.
Okay.
Okay, one is Gurukula, physical Gurukula, and other is online presence, homeschooling. So he has 2 views now, business view,
Okay.
homeschooling view, and if you want, you can make 2 separate products also, homeschooling view and Gurukula view.
Okay. So we can keep up to here common. And only this admin views and all will make it separate.
Actually, homeschooling admissions is very simpler.
Yeah, so it will be a small.
You may not need to do homeschooling also. Homeschooling may once just one flag. In Gurukula, we'll have more students. In homeschooling, only one student.
Okay.
That's the, it may be just flag.
Okay. So we'll keep only these 2 at faculty level. Faculty level. Now, faculty level is what are the things required at the faculty level will be your what are your data the teacher might have used on the content generation, which is what is the basic data that you use, like
JTT.
You mean the content which Darshanji is going to provide as content what Darshanji gives as PDF, Vinod gives. He gives
One
a
is see, like GPT,
PDF of,
these are things which the teachers use.
Yeah.
In the teacher will have. The app is native, but they use some
Bharatiya content.
Bharatiya content. They use a lot of pictures,
Yeah.
logos.
Yeah, resources, say knowledge resources, knowledge support resources.
Knowledge resources in the form of PDF,
Yeah.
URL, image,
Knowledge resources.
audio.
Like that, what else are will use and faculty there?
Yeah. They primarily because everything is knowledge resource, and from that they are generating knowledge. So that's the foundational activity they're doing. Yeah. One simplified viewpoint that we can have is OpNet is all about managing the life cycle of different resources. That's fundamentally what it is doing. So there is a student. So how does a student come all the way to student going through various journey points, right? Teacher, mentor, Gurukul, business head, so on and so forth, right? Like that, people and various other resources, non-human resources, they come into picture into the domain of our Gurukul, WizKid operations. So how they get created till so the generation operation transformation, right? That's all that is happening. And during that process, different people have different views depending upon the role they are performing. So that's how, in a simplified way, we can start thinking about our output, right? So therefore, in terms of database, what are the resources? We need to have a list of the resources. And what is the life cycle of the resource? Is one point we need to have. And associated with its point in the life cycle, it will have various qualities. For example, when it is a student and a pre-sales, the quality and attributes will be.
Can you write them?
Yeah.
This is one view.
Yeah.
What we are talking about
Is how to now go from here to there.
so that
Yeah.
let's make another view. Can I? Yeah, we'll take a picture of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I was, I'll have to leave it now, but, I would suggest one thing. That what we do at this point of time is have a very small unit of the system working end to end. And production is. That means that it's not a prototype. It is in production with production grade accessibility, production grade security, production grade API availability. Once we do that cycle, we will be fair confident of building other units in the system. So, even if the first unit entirely fails altogether, it's fine. It doesn't work out as expected. But what we as a team will learn from that exercise is what it takes to build a proper production grade system which works well end to end. That knowledge is going to be very helpful in building all the rest of the systems because this business will evolve over time. Things will change over time. What we really want is the ability to quickly build things for a given requirement in small units. And that knowledge is going to be the USP. So I would say if we now quickly focus on having student made, teacher made integration working in production, everybody of us will gain that experience of what it takes to do that. So that will be helpful in further process.
Basically, what you're saying is that that's complete the core offering.
Correct.
And these are all layers built over
Yes.
core offering.
And once we have experience with the core, it will extend in other areas as well. All the things will be built.
Actually, the way it happens, Raman, is the core will be built. Then abstraction level doesn't start from stop. It starts from the bottom. One by one, layer by layer, you put the abstraction management layer, administration. Start with one and build up
Where
force.
Shravan is coming is, see, right now for him to build a teachment, there's a lot of, let's say, operational data setup that needs to be done. So that's the reason why he brought this up. With this level of discussion, it has seeded enough parts. So I take your point. I think that is the right approach. So what we can do is, we don't have to solve the augment today. We just need to get the data structure identified, which we can do separately also. Now that all of us have a general understanding, we can do that. But meanwhile, I also have the same viewpoint, which is we should now talk in the next steps about augment and teachment. Student and teachment. Right. So let's talk in terms of what is that we want to release. One is anyway for next week we have clarity GPT release and some UX. These are all user engagement. But on the productionization cycle, see, so far we have not really done the production quality work. So far it's more of a POC quality level work. When you have to convert it to production, we still need to think in terms of how are we going to maintain the versions, how are we going to check in, check out, how our pipeline for taking the development all the way in production. Is testing involved? We haven't even thought about testing. We haven't talked about setup of environment, control of the environment. So there's a whole lot of work involved. So I also take that as a right next step. Yeah.
Okay, so I think, Sean, understanding is top down, but building is bottom up.
Yes.
That is how the core, and we will keep building layers.
Yes.
You don't have to go to top layer, it will take time, and it's not needed also. But a view is required.
Yeah, this is required because we'll understand when you are going what they are not doing.
Correct. So the larger context which we are building the system is becoming clearer with this picture, right? Yeah. But our core, whatever we have now identified, that's clear. Teach made to student made, that is not going to change. So we should focus on that, and with that, our teachers and our other constituents can become engaged. Because when sales process, if you think about it, that core is the essential thing. Our marketing and sales people also will be able to use that during their sales process.
What I observed in my corporate companies was that once we understand the application development process and some nuances of it, building things would be easy.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Core is important.
Yeah.
Wrapper is
Yes.
actually the core is stable, then you can wrapper, you can keep fine tuning building. And the wrapper always start from build from bottom layer. Wow.
This discussion was also helpful. I hope now everybody has got a larger picture view. So now, Dhaval, you want to leave now?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought maybe we.
If there is any item you want on from me, let me know. I can.
Just what are the next steps as far as the production quality work? What do you want to take next? One is obviously the student teachment integration, right? So the database. So maybe we can spend time. I feel if we spend another maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, we'll be able to have some clarity around it. You are not necessary for that, but I just want to make sure that the pieces are clear. So for me, these 5 pieces are important, right? So for our core to work, out of these 5 pieces as of now, in a way, we have the pieces, but they're not put together yet. They are not yet working end to end smoothly. Today, the demonstration was a kind of a make-believe demonstration, in the sense that we moved the data all the way from here. But I would like it to work independently. First it does it, and then it starts doing it. So our very first item should be, even before we jump to the production quality work, I would say, is this integration. I want all of us to go to a GPT, generate something, and then whatever the interface approach that you want to give, even a quick and dirty interface approach, click some button, and we are able to start seeing that in student way, right? So, what are the steps involved in doing that? Let's first focus on that. Yeah. Okay, so
Another thing is we need to quickly figure out how we will work independently but logging into the same system. So either we have some, uh, tools, like if not in Docker, what is it, another.
no. We'll go to GCP. I think we already have the Google current some. They gave some money, not to Guji, they gave some grant. No? You had applied for Google.
That grant, didn't follow up with that.
Okay. All right.
You can hire some cloud.
Okay.
So basically, you need an online space, right?
Yeah.
Online,
Yeah.
Some hosting system.
So we will set up an environment. Let's discuss that. So we use Google. We'll use Google's managed Postgres as our database. We'll use for all the APIs. We use Cloud Run. Unless otherwise, we need our own virtual machines. For the time being, we'll use Firebase. So these are the three technologies. So Firebase to host the front end, and then the Cloud Run for the APIs, and the Postgres as a database. So we'll begin with that simple thing, and we'll build it up using GitHub. Okay, so that's the next step that we should probably take up. So we have to figure out, who amongst us wants to explore that and how we can do it. That is number one. So let me just start making quick notes here. That way all of us are clear. So set up GCP environment. Okay. Have you all started using the repository yet? GitHub we have not yet, right? Okay. Okay. You.
Oh, you all logged in.
The logged in, that's what we didn't do.
Okay, so we need to now figure out actual usage, push, pull, all that we have to figure out. Okay. Now coming back then, so these are the two kind of prerequisites. So now in terms of how do you move the
What I'll use the database to pushing something someplace just for, not for making the Google, not Google, GitHub.
Yeah. There, it is only for maintaining all the software versions. That's only a repository.
We should use it now.
We should start using, if you already have some code, whatever the code, start using your own respective repositories. We created like teachmate, studentmate, right? You can start using them. Yeah. So coming back, so now let's talk about number one. How do we get the custom GPT data into database? This 1, 2, 3,
That is very important.
right? So how do we do it? So now the GPTs are exposing data as JSON. As a first step,
Do you want JSON or PDF? We are not still.
let's stick with JSON. Let's stick with JSON.
Are we not saying between the custom GPT and the Google Drive, there is a teacher?
It will come. Teacher made app will come, but the movement will be, imagine instead of custom GPT, think about this as teachmate. Eventually. Today it is custom GPT. Right? In some time we will have a actual teachmate app. And from there the data has to come here. So now the first decision we need to make is whatever GPTs are generating, they are JSON. So one of the strategies that we can consider is we can directly push the content from the GPT, assuming it's verified, as a item content directly into our database. So we will not have any intermediate storage. Is one thing that we can have. Any alternate 2 points?
It will become unwieldy. So we should have a very simple app which will take care and take lessons, aids, and everything until the subjects, and put everything in the right place in the database. So this what we are doing manually, for doing just 8 is taking half an hour. If we want to do more, to put them into database, we need an app which will be a simple basic rudimentary app, which we can make in 1 or 2 days, where the content, the AI are into a particular route, and the route is put into a particular lesson. The lessons are combined into topics. The topics are put into under a given subject ID, and the subjects are put into database. This is a simple app. It's only a count. The teachers will name the subjects. IDs and other things will be generated, but the app will say, okay, these things come under this subject. These items will come under this learning or this lesson. These lessons will come under this topic. These topics will come under this subject. Like this, we should have a simple.
Okay.
Then that app, if it is made at that level, pushing into database, we can do.
See, the whole idea of doing this exercise very quickly is that if we identify what works and what does not, then we will be able to quickly figure out alternatives if required. So, the whole idea behind this strategy at the end of the day is not just see the integration, but also validate our assumptions of what is working. If something is not working in the system, it is not necessary that we will fail. We will still probably succeed, but then we can look at alternatives.
So here is one other way of looking at what you just said. So now we are generating the content, right, using custom GPT, and they now are getting it in the format of JSON. Now imagine we expose some APIs, and in order to set up a lesson and in order to set up a KI, they just need to execute them in certain order. Let's say we identify them. And if that is available as a postman collection, they can go there and then they will attach the content and then they push the button, right? So it is still going to set up data in the database, that is number 3, but may not have an app. Because I also feel the way Davaji is feeling. Today, if you already go into app building on this side, right, it is needed, very much needed, but the critical value, what is the critical value we are looking for? Feedback from our actual users hasn't yet come. What is the critical feedback we have to receive? Not about the UI itself, but about whether the quality of the content that is coming out of the GPT is correct or not. So therefore, until we do that little bit of a feedback, maybe another week or 2, I also feel maybe we should postpone developing the UI on this side. So therefore, but your point is also valid, which is, how does the content come? Will we have to manually do? No, I don't want us to do that. So what we should focus on is maybe let's develop the APIs. Okay, let's give them 2 steps. I know it's going to be a little bit of a pain for them. They have to go there and then call this API with this JSON. They have to call another API with this JSON, which is okay internally. With that also, we can, for now, Postman. Postman is a online API tool. You think of it like for lack of better terms, you are using.
Even to train that, see what's happening to make it into the Postman also, you have to make something.
Yeah.
But he's only giving you a place of where to put the APIs and how to put the JSON and data.
Yeah.
Even that will take time. Instead, if you give me 2 days, I will give a simple, or he can give a simple UI where they don't bother with these IDs, names, they just fill the data. Once they put the JSON, they give a lesson name, they give a topic name, and they give a subject name.
Let's work in this way now, Shravanji. Then let's first build a TeachMate database. Let's build the API for TeachMate and expose that to them, and then we can come towards this side.
So you're saying, why don't we start making that? Okay.
Right. So because if you already embark on this way of journey, because this is more critical. This side of the journey is more critical. We haven't yet figured out this part. We ideally should have done it that way, right? So let's first figure out this part, and then let them figure out how they will want to call them. So that way, you can then also start getting the get side.
Is it possible to use Google Forms in this with all these fields and JSON file and all that? It doesn't work.
It may work. We'll have to, because from the Google form, it actually designed all this API.
See, today I get APIs or I work on the post APIs.
Yes. Yes. Let us focus on
Just
teach state database, teach state API.
just whatever the student app they want, which is up to the journey building, database from building up to journey.
Yeah.
That is what I really focus.
Correct. That let's have a conversation. For only the POC, we went with the integrated database, but it is ideal to have a separate database. So we'll talk about it. So therefore, let your energy be focused here. Yeah. So let's just focus on that. So that is clear, right? Okay. Once we complete that, then we can build this part of the journey for them. Meanwhile, let them continue to fine tune whatever they are doing, and let them start seeing whether all of it can be in a common JSON structure. For example, imagine as if like lesson name, class name, grade name, topic name, maybe if it has a learning inquiry. So whatever, come up with some JSON structure, and maybe we can all review it and fine tune it. And if all the GPTs can start generating in that JSON format, great. Okay, that's the first step.
All the GPT should have same JSON, or each GPT, whatever it is generating.
You can have different JSON, you have to tell what JSON for what type.
No, each GPT can have a different JSON structure, or all
It is
GPT
preferable.
JSON.
It is preferable to have single structure. Preferable. For whatever reason, our content cannot be represented in the JSON structure, then we will go for multiple types.
And that is why we have to be, like Jay is saying, let us also quickly focus on content creation. Because if it is so that there is some sort of content which is not so easy to be replicable in a particular structure, then that becomes the critical point of discussion that okay, we might have to orient that in a different way or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So now that part is clear. So let's work together on that. And you are also clear. Okay. Then get API is not yet done, correct? So now get APIs are done.
All of it.
Okay. So is he in a position to integrate with them?
No. Because
Okay.
my get APIs is, how does he call my get APIs?
Environment issue is there.
Is there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we need to now put it in
In a common shareable environment.
where all of us can put a GitHub, push commit
I wanted to ask
and
you
it
this.
goes here.
Have you used our,
Nginx, sir. What is it? It's a
it's a reverse proxy.
but like I said, that will be dependent upon your environment. It should not be only for dev. It is dependent on each of the laptops. But common testing,
Only used for dev, not.
but for integration, we should be in a common environment.
Yeah.
Let's move towards a GCP environment.
I mean, code is not going to use, know anything about any.
Yeah,
My code is only listening on a particular port.
yeah,
This NGROC is working on my PC to open that particular port to an outside environment based on a particular token.
yeah. What happens is, because same machine where you will also be doing the development. If let's say his working times are different and he wants to do some changes, so all that becomes a hassle. It is preferable to keep dev and whatever you are doing common thing.
How does he access the?
He will access your environment. He will access the cloud environment. We will set up our application on the
At
cloud.
least you have to first set up the.
Correct. So now that is the question I have for us. Do we want this part as the first priority because the same people have been involved, or do we want this side to be set up on the cloud? Which is the first priority according to you?
What is the difference?
So there are two conflicting priorities. If let's say right now, Shamanji, you and me have to work together. Do we want to first set up these two things, that is the database and the API and the teachmate side, or do you want to first ensure that the get part of the journey, including the environment stuff, is working well?
It doesn't really at the moment now affect me. Because, at the end of the day, as long as he is able to put the APIs properly on cloud first, is the moment from front end will be functional. So, and we are anyways, not block on APIs at the moment for further front end work. I am not going to be blocked because I have a lot of tools inside the system which are related to code organization, which are related to, ensuring that things are structured in some certain way, that it's not blocked or waiting on APIs anymore. I mean, it was for the purpose of demo, but not.
Then I will put it this way.
Hmm.
Let the first priority be this, Shravanji.
Yeah.
Let's first get this working. Once when this is working, let's put these three pieces, right? These two APIs and the database, the common database thing in the cloud and do an integration, right? So if we do this, I think it will be appropriately. Let's focus
For what
on.
matters, I can just do a server where some code and I code that it will still code call or say
Yes.
So it will be fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There may be integration issues because of mismatch in knowledge. Okay, so this part is clear. So we will work on this, and Gayatri and team is going to work on the GPT fine tuning, and you and Ashwini ji will focus on. So what is that you want to focus on now? As if you're going to production. Is the API structure that you designed that day, the document?
Is that still valid?
Yeah.
Because then I built all the APIs as per that. Only thing is, you have not given the actual JSONs in each API and have given the document what JSONs I am taking or giving in my API. Is that okay?
No, you have already now AI items that you outline.
AI item is one thing. Lesson structure, the topic structure, and the subject structure. This has to be clear.
It is.
It is clear.
Not an issue.
Okay.
Now it's not.
And the progress structure.
So what we outlined in the API database, what makes sense to you, or is yours drastically different from that?
No, what I'm asking is your lesson progress I generate or you give and I store and I give it back.
No, you have to.
I have to give.
Yes. All these things, because see, front end is stateless.
No, wait, the
Yeah.
content is stateless.
Yeah.
Then we need to have two things. The progress need is working on two things. One, the centralized, the teach-made apps structure, all knowledge structure is that of teach-made app. Now, the journey and the log are all of student data. Now, this has to work with this. For this progress, that's the reason I didn't do that. Progress map app means that I have to finalize on the teacher made app. So
I can
lot of things.
help you there. See, front end is stateless.
In my thing, all are default values.
Front end is stateless. Front end is only thinking of user and user actions. I only think in that. User clicked on this, he completed a lesson. Now, whether it means the progress or not, database is also more or less not going to be concerned about that. Okay, what at the end of the day decides that business logic is the middleware. Middleware are the APIs. So middleware has to do that aggregation and business logic computation. That if 5 out of 10 lessons are done in data,
You made a
it is
small
50
server today. You made a small server for yourself, right?
That's a mock server.
Mock server. In that mock server, do you figure out how you will make those calculations?
No, it is as if data. It
Has
has
done with computation.
Computation.
Yeah. Okay, so let us spend some time, Shravanji. Let's continue after this
It
agreement.
is exactly mapping to what that document API document.
So fundamental point is the document is not changing.
Yeah.
And you are currently the thinking is you're just going to continue.
Yeah, and if there are any changes in there, it's fine. don't worry too much about, hierarchical things or naming things and things like that. If he changes something and I have to mirror that in UI is fine. But strategy more or less is what we.
Semantics, structure is the problem.
Yeah.
If you want to add a new element, a column, I need to figure out whether there is something for me to store that at all.
No, whatever I needed is
I
there.
don't. One thing changes, then entire service changes and the data quality data everything changes.
No, for the V1, this is all.
Okay, so I think this is also clear.
Hmm.
So goal is next Saturday, by next Saturday, the GPT. And any goal that you want to take by next Saturday. One is of course the initial teachment. Will you be able to come up with the initial teachment?
But I'm still very
Not for testing purpose, but for working with the Darshan G and T to start getting initial feedback.
Yeah, but I still am not very sure of how API will be called and return the data and all.
Which API?
Or TCP. So teach me, teacher selects all the things
Yeah.
and click on generate.
Yeah.
So how does that translate into a lesson generation?
Yeah, so okay, going back to our movie generation, right? Yeah, movie items, like images, videos, and so on. Okay, so the teachers are always generating a particular set of items in the context of wanting to create a lesson. Let's think like that. The knowledge unit they want to give us the 20-minute movie. So whenever they say 20-minute movie, I have created that master movie. Either learning movie or master movie. Other movie they will create. In the context of the master learning movie, they will interact with the college to create a structure. They will say all their things. And they are going to see. This is a broad experience that we want to give to them.
That's fine. But then what is the problem? Why is
The part of the US always, as a teacher, I need to be able to see the movie creation. Just like a video creation tool. Video creation tool allows me to time slices.
So where is the movie content coming from?
So, for example, as a simple example, imagine there is there are two kinds of movies that front end allows you to create. One, I call it the learning movie, and the master movie. The moment I click on the learning movie, yeah. The moment I click on the moment I click on the learning, imagine I have a very simple experience of plus. When I click on the plus, it means that I want to add some part. This is the read. This is the read. Overall movie. Because when I click on the learn movie, some constraints tell me that this movie time is 20 minutes. Okay. So my basic experience is going to start like plus. So when I click on this plus, it is going to give me some kind of a prompt which says, okay, what are the and I for what are the let's assume the context is going to this plus, which is 6th grade.
That's fine. I understand.
Right? All that is gone. And then the prompt by the user is taken. And it also says that what kind of experience I want. Is it a book experience? Or is it a learn experience? Or is it right? Some experience items are also known. And I say generate. Then what it does is it brings, based on interaction with the GPT, it brings some content. And then the teacher says, okay, not okay, maybe edit, and says accept. When the teacher accepts, it comes and sits here. So now what are the here? this is second one is generated, and again another plus appears. So this is how I reach it. I simply keep adding, and then once I say there is some kind of preview, then I click review the whole content place, and I find that oh, I'm happy, and say that for the like submit, right? You know, eventually you will attach workflow. When I click submit, it simply via API pushes it to me.
Yeah, so I mean, my point being here is that, you know, this entire UI exercise is 5% of the work. And clicking on generate and getting that content to be UI is 95% of the work.
Correct. Totally agree. Totally agree. But what I'm saying is, right now we have initial failure for the UX. See, while the GPT and the content feedback is happening in parallel, getting an initial, just like how your each app, sorry, student app, gave an initial preview to them. This is only to get a user experience part clear.
So my suggestion is this way of thinking I am trying to, follow is to bring the limitations of things very early on, so that we rightly, solve them as soon as possible. I mean, this UI itself is not a big deal. I can, create it in 5 minutes and, we can preview it and all, that's fine. But we don't want to end up in a situation where this UI is created and then we get to know that the other main thing is not possible.
Right now, technically it's possible.
How?
It has been proven.
No.
It has been proven. You are able to get the user.
But that is them working inside the GPT.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, they are going to expose that as a JSON. It is going to come.
He is rendering everything, and either a video or a PPT.
No, that is not what his problem is. His problem is from the GPT how the content is going to flow back.
Because UI cannot call the GPT.
Right now, that is what the experiment has proven. They have a JSON. They are going to create JSON.
UI cannot call the GPT. That is the main problem.
So, see, double check. I told you the other day also. Worst case,
What do you mean by calling GPT is here? That's what I don't mean as GPT. Call as a program.
See, I'll tell you the thing from a user experience perspective, right? We want to develop a car. Okay. Now in the car, what is the most important part of the car? Most engine, right? So my suggestion here is that let us have a preliminary idea of how the engine will be integrated with the frame. Let the frame be very cool. It is a generate button on the UI. You call the GPT and it presents some content. Yeah, yeah. That's because the
Exactly the features make GPT and AI created. And from there, his UI takes over.
no. What he's saying is UI integrates with GPT.
okay, at the end of the day, think in this way.
UI integrates with GPT.
So for your purpose, you have a simple model. There is some API which is going to give you some JSON. Think in that direction.
I know PhD. I can think in that and I can create this output.
Yeah.
It will be a prototype, but
See, the only reason I'm saying this way is
it does not solve the purpose of adding because what I can foresee right now is that the greatest problem being, how will we integrate all these activities in a seamless manner in a UI? where we call the GPTs
I don't think really in terms of UI is to integrate with GPTs. It will be wrapped around by it will be wrapped around with some API. You simply from the front end viewpoint, as far as GPT is concerned, it's a microservice. There is nothing else.
I understand.
Yeah.
And
Right, and also a JSON structure which can be agreed upon, right? So the reason I am thinking that this is important is, see, just like how the key student made gave an initial preview to the
we don't want to give a false. We want to give an initial preview which is positive. We don't want to give a preview which is later on. See, the difference is that. What I want really understand and ensure is that what we show is eventually translated into a proper production quality application.
Okay, so the primary assume this is possible or not possible, doesn't matter. Okay, but this part of the journey remains the same. What part of the journey will change if this works or doesn't work?
Then this is a pro.
Illogical. How you still have to do this as a teacher. This is how you generate the content.
See, the crux of the matter here is that my understanding from all these meetings and all this that it's going very hard.
Forget.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. Forget. Yeah.
We don't want.
Okay, let's forget it. Okay, so whether the teacher is going to generate the content through GPT by automated way, are going to go to GPT and copy the content, or is going to enter the content, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they still need a ability to create lessons, to be able to push them into the DP through some kind of a K item approach. No, that part is not at all related to the
So what I can suggest is that for now let us directly give them an ability to paste the lesson here.
which is also perfectly okay.
And then arrange and save it in an email.
Absolutely.
I mean, by what he's saying, like drag on and things like that.
So this is a K item. Each K item, again, each K item, let them come and add elements to the K item,
Correct.
right? Which is also perfectly okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it because once when they are okay with what they have seen on the screen or whatever you come up with, it's just a matter of mapping the whatever that comes from the GPT into that structure.
Correct.
Yeah, so let's keep it definitely independent, separate. Yeah.
Until it is actually possible, let us keep it up.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I am okay.
Yeah. So that way, can we, again, I'm asking you, is that an initial view possible to be shown to Darshan Ji and me sometime next week, or what is your way of thinking?
Yeah, I'm okay to show as a demo, but my thinking at this point of time is Vijay, all this software we are creating, right? A smallest unit of software to create, productionize, launch, host, and eventually maintain is not a trivial exercise. It will be a huge exercise. Okay, so rather than we doing a lot of
I'll just drop them and.
Oh, you're leaving, is it?
Sleeping.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Hurry on. Sorry.
Hello.
Now, what is the plan now, actually?
No, it is clear. No, the priorities are clear. No. You are going to work with level, and that
Yeah. Don't
sorry, you're getting ready to discuss here.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a certain way of thinking I'm trying to evolve here. Is that let us also think about not just creating immediate things, but also how will we put it to production, how will we maintain it, what are the things that it will be required to maintain that one, because even the student lesson portion that we created, that is only good for attendance. It is, going to be,
Yeah.
that is like 5% of the.
Yeah.
More.
I am not thinking of any of the work that you've done so far in production quality.
Mhm.
See, the process that, maybe you have observed, I don't know, is early user integration in the process. And what the value I have found with early user integration is, see, the initial product version, initial product version, quickly should be iterated. Then from that genesis, we then receive relatively concrete product vision. Because product vision, if you and I, how much ever we take our head,
It will not.
it will never be right. So, but the disadvantage in working with a business user without some kind of even rudimentary interfaces, they will not have something to give you feedback on. The moment you put, your student made, you can see a tangible improvement in the engagement level, right? That is all I'm suggesting here, right? So I'm 100% with you. We are not going to go with the production quality. That's where, like we discussed, the first thing that I want to do is to get that ATA thing done and focus on getting this. Working on the end-to-end production life cycle. Definitely, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
And the reason being that, we will also have to at some point of time realize that probably we cannot build everything ourselves.
Correct.
We might have to use other systems.
Yeah.
Or adapt to our use cases to use other systems. And, understand the limitations.
Yeah.
My point is that also let us realize what are the limitations of our systems as well. Yeah. What your viewpoint is correct, in which we want to get the user feedback.
So this is one thread. From a system design, 100%.
Yeah.
So if you see, that's why we are running on two parallel tracks. Yeah. So this is purely from a user engagement and user involvement early in the product development.
But I am okay to create this as long as we are not setting an expectation right now that it will be working with the chip. I can add plus signs here.
Yeah.
In which it opens a model.
Yeah.
They paste in some content there.
Yeah. In whatever the fashion that you design.
Yeah.
So then we will have to figure out a way to have now built the experience part on the student made side. Now you know what element of this is going to drive that.
Correct.
So keeping that in mind, you can come up with your form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
70 is that
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, we make up to that and this will.
Yeah.
So that will help them to generate quickly some things in a structured way. Today they are all doing it in a very manual way. That will come up fast and then this actual pushing it into the database you'll see.
But those are significant things. See,
If it is there, at least you can manually put it later today.
Yeah.
It's still useful for us.
Yeah.
The point is, even if the whole thing is waste, this will give us good insight.
Yeah.
That's how we are proceeding, whatever we are building, not that this will be the final one. This will give us insight. As you develop something, you will get a lot of insight.
Correct. I am ready to do this exercise. I can actually quickly do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have user experience.
Yeah.
And it can also be highly mock in which it inserts it.
Yeah. And because you may have a data on the other side, you know very well exactly how the structures have to be. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So Shravanji, so then we review what is it we do. Yeah.
So let's, no, actually, I didn't show you all the APIs out there working really. I do this this is not important right now. The only problem where we got started was how we work with it.
Huh.
Otherwise, I really wanted, even if student app is on today, because it's already in the board environment, even if he puts it on Netlify, I can open Netlify from my PC and see work on it.
No, so, okay, so therefore, would you rather first work on a common environment problem? What is it you need? Where or what is the setup that will help you? See, there are two ways of going at it. Imagine it's a UI, so you need a UI. What is the way of a UI? You can think of a postman as a UI.
I right now work on Postman.
That is, right? Yeah.
Right now, my student app is Postman. That's what
As long as
I'm testing.
our WG has given some 5 or 7 APIs, and he's given the data structure. As long as your APIs are producing the same data structure, which is perfectly then aligned. Then we will figure out a way to bring it into cloud environment. Similarly, on this side.
API also this.
So
Whatever get APIs I got,
Yeah.
I also create equivalent
Post APIs, right?
Post APIs.
Yeah.
And of course, also, I will not have the authentication this side, right?
Don't worry about authentication. Right now, even there also, if you want, forget authentication for now. Make it freely available. It's okay. Anybody can come get, anybody can read whatever content. Security will impose later. It can be easily imposed.
Yeah.
So, but one thing that I want, you've taken this picture.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just quickly discuss how we want the databases and the microservices to be organized.
Correct.
So, we have each A. Now, we have each name layers. Today we do not have it. Today we have an integrated database. But we can segregate the each name database. Then we have student name API. We have student name database. Okay. If you go with segregation, what it means is your API here will not and should not directly create a query by joining tables. So this model would be such that
What I understand is, if I have to make it, this side and this side is the SQL queries.
correct.
Whereas this side will be a
API call.
API,
Correct.
and this side is a push API.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you got it right. So if at all I need any data from here, I will not be directly talking, I will be talking like this.
No, I get a API here, who will implement it into SQL and give you.
Okay, right? That is the way we need to implement. So if this is a model,
But still, this databases
yeah.
are all in one database on PostgreSQL, or we have multiple databases on PostgreSQL.
So they can be same database, but this can be schema 1, this can be schema 2.
We can have multiple schemes.
And the user ID and password that we use to connect to this database will have access to only this schema.
Generate the multiple schemas. Right now, by default, is opening a schema.
So if you look at the database, you can create so if you see here, it's all in the public schema, right? So for that, I mean collapse this schema. This one, not schema, public. Now right click on schema.
Create schema.
So for example, call it as treatment schema. TM.
And the GOMS, okay.
Again, you can come up with the conventions, see, how you want schema names, DB names, entity names, column names. Yeah,
All are small.
usually.
Okay, yeah, that's what somewhere.
Again, it's a convention, there is no.
No, I have seen how these tools will
Yeah.
give the names using some convention and become the convention. from
Yeah.
there.
So,
That's why immediately when you said convention, I thought, okay.
yeah.
I've not seen a database.
You mean the owner as Postgres, but the technique is Postgres.
It's Postgres.
Later, you can make other users the owner. Okay, you say, I will create a new schema. So now you got ready.
Oh, so this, what I made is in public schema.
Now you right click G, right click on the teachment schema G.
No, another thing, whatever is there in the public schema, can I put it into a private schema?
You can move it to teachment schema. Right click G on the teachment.
Right click,
So now you can create different tables. Right? Now you see, no, create. See? Table.
Or
Or
is PDF schema? This is already.
Again,
Oh, sub-schema.
So like that, now your table, everything get functions, everything get created.
So if I, from this teach me, if I go for a query tool, all that create on that query tool will be into this.
Into this. Yeah.
I am only using query tool and DRD for schema. And backup for taking, moving the data. Backup for actually moving it into a text file and see because for me otherwise ERD is very difficult. So I just take a backup, plain backup,
Yeah.
put it into a text file and then check it everything there.
Okay. So now in your public schema, G, what tables you want to move to teachment and what tables you want to move to student community?
Can you do that?
Yeah. Expand this. That we will see.
Yeah.
So now these are the tables you have.
Okay. We need K items, K routes, lessons, milestones. Right now, I will move them into teachment because some of them, for example, the Gurukuls will be in the off-mate finally. But
You can bring a GID, Gurukul ID or a Gurukul offering ID into teachmate or studentmate if you need to. But the actual table will be in the offmate, you're correct. So for the time being, when you create the teachment tables, you need not have to move them.
Okay. So right now I need to move from this. This is basically whatever this public schema, I will rename it or I'll assume
Let
that
it be there.
yeah, but I'm assuming that this is let's say
You're not going to use it anymore.
I'm using it for the student mate side. Now in this schema, I'm just for I want to remove some of the tables
Yeah.
or at least duplicate them into teacher meta.
Yeah.
So how do I do? Now K items is there.
So for example, if you right click on it, you will be able to see the
Properties.
Create.
No, this is on the
Script. K item. K item. Scripts. Create script.
if I do that, it's
You create a generated create script. Okay. So see, it says create table if not exist, copy.k items and blah blah blah. Right? Now what you can do is you can copy the script and you can go to your teachmate schema if let's say this is where you want it. Make sure that
let's do that.
copy this first. Entire thing. Just put your cursor there in front of you. Okay. And then collapse public. Like yeah. But now go create an actual thing. You want a simple window, right? So click on the PS query. Okay. Now paste it here. Now wait, you will change it because it is going to still take in public. You can change it as teach me. That's anyway. Table. Drop table also I cannot see. Huh? Teach me. This is a common.
Oh, this is common.
So anyway, I cannot run, but it's okay. It's a good practice. What you did is good practice. You know,
Because I use data gaming, right? So all this is pretty clear. I understood.
so let me just
Exclude this script. Okay, alter table. Why it's alter table? It's not creating. Is it altering the table?
look at the table. There is a table.
Oh.
Now you can drop it there.
That comes with that. I did that. I will do that later because my app today is whatever I am making API app.
Yeah.
I'm still using this.
Yeah.
What I do is I'll use it for time being
Yeah.
to complete certain things.
Yeah.
Then when I make the TeachMate APIs
Yeah.
and I generate the APIs between these two,
Yeah.
then I move it so that I can
Yeah.
continue.
So let us just focus on hardly this area. So
Now, how will be the structure of this? Let us say here, the student will have a K item is there.
Yeah.
The K item. K item is there here. So the day here is asking for K1. It has K1. K item, K1. The K is this. How will the API be like?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think,
Sure. Yeah. So for example, when you think about student name, so when a student may when you paint the picture for who for our TeachMate app, what is it we are going to maintain here? We're going to maintain a J log, right?
No,
In the J log, yeah, there's a student.
what I'm doing is right now, all this only. I will later move most of these static ones into augment.
Yes.
Right now, this is my common thing is both augment plus student weight and P weight is what I want to look at. So
Yeah, I understand.
I want to understand how these.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So now let's take the example of student log. So what are the columns in this log? So we have student ID, student ID, then what what are the columns you have identified?
So our S log has SID, JID. Basically these two, start time, end time, status. That's okay. Those are I'm not using. SID and JID.
Assign, anytime,
And status.
and status, right? So now, in terms of the experience at the TeachMate, sorry, student mate. Now, as soon as the student logs in, first of all, what class the student is in sixth grade. So, what are all the subjects for sixth grade level 1 student has to be shown is independent of the student.
I see today the APIs that I have given here towards the students. get subjects.
Correct.
Which is either subject ID, get subject ID, or if there is no subject ID, all subjects. Then to get topics, I need a subject ID here.
Correct.
Is the input.
Correct.
Then get lessons, I need the subject ID and topic ID. Because I don't know which lesson is asking for, we have taken lessons out. Then get. So once I have this, the inputs for this are all the kterms given in a
Yeah.
gist.
Yeah.
Because I have lessons will have KID will be KID. So all this is
Yeah.
given.
So typically when we have such distributed databases and we need to present a collated view in the front end, there are a couple of strategies that we can adopt. First strategy, there is a UI and there is a backend for the UI. And then you have microservice 1, microservice 2, which have a more of a, in this case, like a teaching and student, right? So now, for example, let's say what subjects to show to the student is a question, right? So now, how will I paint that on the UI? So UI is simply going to ask get subjects / subjects, and it has to be told, hey, here is subject 1, whose name, whatever, blah blah blah, subject 2, and using this front end paints the picture. Okay. Now, how do you construct this? Now, all the subjects for the given grade and whatever the level are in the teach method. Okay. So, if you simply do a get of this, it will give you this. But now, our additional point is, imagine whether the student has started the journey on this one or not. Say that this is locked and this is currently in progress. This particular subject. But that information is going to be in the student meeting. So then what you do is, this backend of the UI will issue, it knows how the front end expects, it knows from where I can source the data. It issues 2 gets, combines them, and then sends the updated. So, for example, right now we don't have this need. I want to. Yes, let's take the example of a particular topic learning, right? So, for a given subject, all the topics, there may be 20 topics. Okay, that is going to come from teachment.
Yes, subjects, topics, and lessons all come from teaching.
Correct, right? So, all the 20
Only
lessons.
the logs and the logs are key. Yeah, no, right. Only logs here.
Correct.
Right now student data.
Yeah.
The rest, KIM, KROW, subject, topics, and lessons are all
From a student. Right? So now this backend, first we get all
that
that.
journey, because journeys are independent of students. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? So when it issues that give me lessons, right? This guy can give the lessons. For a given subject topic.
What I can do is, when I get a get subjects, instead of me looking into data, I can just have a layer which will just give get subjects and he give the same get subject to me.
He'll give the game. So that is where, the couple of different strategies. So please let me complete this. That way you'll understand. So this is strategy number 1. In this strategy, you will have a backend for the UI. Now, where is this backend for UI run? It can run either as part of the UI itself, or it can run as a separate layer on the backend side. It's another microservice. It's another microservice which can in turn send requests to multiple microservices, collect data, combine them, and push it, integrate the data.
What is the UI of student app or
Student app.
That's fine. So today what is happening that this backend UAF is directly dipping into data. Instead,
No. You're the way you are imagining backend and what I'm saying is that two different things. Imagine in the browser, there's an application running, which is nothing but our WebGIS application. Imagine there is one small library there, and that library, when the user says, give me all the lessons, right? That library receives the call. That library will make two calls. One call to teach me, give me all the lessons for this subject topic. Then it also says to the student main, hey, give me for this subject topic the log information, right? It receives. These are two distinct JSONs. This guy here puts them together and creates the output that WG has given the document. Because the WG's document is a join of these two. It's a JSON join, right? So that work is done by this backend of the UI. Now, where it is run, it can run either in the browser or it can run in the front end of the database. As you are a microservice. See, you currently have Node.js microservice, no?
So when you go JS,
Yeah.
the on the app or index, it goes to control. For each type of app,
Yeah.
microservices and controller.
Yeah.
Student controller is one controller.
Yeah.
Now, this student controller will then connect to what is a middle, path middleware or some middlewares.
Yeah.
The middleware today are only looking at whether it is accessible, we can look at the data or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or otherwise, most of it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then after the middleware, we go to a particular route.
Yeah.
This route is going to a database server, database
Very
service.
Yeah, correct. So now, what you have here is what can be thought of as the backend of the UI. But you can have a separate student-made microservice and teach-made
So
microservice.
what we are saying is, they whatever has student controller. A set of controllers towards the student parents. Yes, sir.
No,
Right.
okay. So, see, microservice organization is that each microservice, no, each box that I have written here, no, runs as a separate process. See, in your model, in the same Node.js process, they have separate, internal functions, internal
Process.
they run a separate process. A microservice essentially is an independent, containable, or containerized unit. Okay, it is on its own. So this box, the box that I've written here, is a box that is aware of the fact that I'm receiving requests from here, and I need to collect information from multiple of these microservices, right? That's what this backend is. So in your case, you can have a student-made app microservice. Okay, this microservice is different from this database. No, it is a student-made database. Because of the naming convention, we are getting confused. But that's why I'm introducing this concept called app. Student-made app microservice is separate from student-made microservice. Student-made microservice job is to only manage the life cycle of items that have to manage in here, right? Whereas this fellow's focus is how do I serve the need of this fellow? This fellow's focus is how do I ensure the life cycle aspects of this resource that I'm responsible for?
How do I create a separate process for this?
So, right now you have a you have Node.js process, no? Do you have two separate Node.js processes, one for student made, one for the teacher made? Are they just modules?
Right now they are modules. See, right now, I have a front end NPM and a back end NPM separately. Each are in separate parameter, in separate folders. So, for example, I can run a Node.js in one thing and React front end or another thing. Both are run by same entity.
So for all practical purposes, think of the organization of the folder like this. Say student main, student main microservice. So you will have JS in blah blah blah. This is one. So if you open a command prompt and do a node start run node, it will be running as one process. So if you go to Postman, and this may be running at let's say 80 right? 80, for example, right? Now you have a teacher made microservice. This also has a similar app.js, blah blah blah, and you go to command prompt, let's say you run it at 8085. So what happens because of this is two different servers. This is server 1 running at 8083. This will be server 2 running at 8085. This one will give you only the APIs related to managing the resources of each other. This one will be only for this one. Whereas this one is something that has to fetch data from both these microservices, right? Now, this particular service,
That may run as a third.
there are two choices for us. Choice number one is this runs as part of the front end. So we'll have to work with double G and say, double G, you are not going to receive data in the way you wanted. You will have to make this call, you will make this call, and you have to combine it. Okay. So which means that you come with this.
What happens is this app is not stateless. Because the state is here.
Yes and no. His app is still stateless because whenever this app loads, it makes these calls depending upon the information. So this will not maintain all the data. It will maintain only this particular whatever you sessions data and it will maintain this. So this is good and bad. There's no right or wrong.
They can have another S3 here.
Which is an aggregator. This will an aggregator.
Now, only thing is right now, you're going to this controller is through this middleware calling the separate products. So, database here from the middleware, I have to.
No. In this case, what we say,
both things on one side.
This fellow, no, this S3, no. This S3 doesn't really need to worry about database at all because what this fellow is, he will simply call this fellow, he will simply call this fellow, he will do some generally here and he will answer.
Yeah, he is not considered this. I have see what in my original app I have two apps. Which is the client app and the server app. Now the client app is running on one port. The client server app is running on one port, and they are calling through APIs each other. That is already there.
So this fellow, you can call him as
APIs. You will call
this fellow. You can call him as student made UI microservice. This fellow is simply student made microservice. This fellow is simply teach made microservice. This is one model we can have. Why? Because this fellow's job is to protect the resources here. This fellow's job is to protect the resources here. The other way you can think of it is this fellow is already serving the needs of this fellow, and on the other side, he knows the database. Is another way of thinking. Then what we do is, we don't need 3 services. We have 2 services. One called student made microservice, another called teach made. Then whenever student made requires any data from teach made, you will make an API call and fetch. But he knows that my APIs are to serve the need of the student made UI. So student made microservice then is to serve the need of the student made microservice. UI, right? The disadvantage with this model is tomorrow, if I want to compose these service orchestration some other way, I am bound by how the UI is working. I'm not, because this microservice is not driven by how my resource protection and my resource life cycle is. That's our disadvantage, but we don't have to worry about it already. Because we'll have to anyway refactor as we go further. So you make a choice, which is easier for you to handle. You please choose. Both have its own pros and cons. This, the biggest con is many moving pieces. This has no database, no persistence. It has to rely on this. So there is a lot of heavy lifting happening for every call. But it's very flexible. Now this layer, not only these two, tomorrow you have a auth layer. You can talk to auth layer, get some authentication, then do the filtering. So a lot of cool things can happen here.
So having this is more important.
Is going to give us design flexibility, right? But it is a development inflexibility, development tightness. There's too many moving pieces. Maintenance, will be slightly challenging.
But these servers, these servers, these two servers, once I know their database and their APIs,
So when you design an API of this,
what is happening in the controller, from the actual controller, the business logic of those apps are here.
so these two microservices,
Feature made app is feature made this. And this is only a dummy layer. Ever running app, which will only keep adding into API.
these API layers. See, now what you may be also doing is, in the student made microservice, you have to take into consideration, how do I paint it? All that is what you are worried about, right? So that's why you are trying to combine all the data here. But now, simply with the thinking, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Is to manage these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 resources and give access to them. Okay, that is how my job is. So this becomes a resource server. The viewpoint is resource management, not UI painting. This job is
First, I will not code anything. I will generate a design document and
Yes.
separate the APIs, functions,
Yes.
databases of each of these. 1, 2, 3, and maybe the fourth one. And then we'll finalize that for some time.
And let's also come up with the correct naming conventions. Right? So let's do that first. Let's review that. That way it becomes easier.
Only thing is next week, there will be a half week.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So you'll be starting the work on Thursday. Okay, because
I may not start this because this will take a lot of time.
but you're clear.
I am clear. What I need to do, I am clear. And I also have, for example, this thing, as I told you that day, already the op-mate stuff is all here. Okay.
So that's separate.
We're using a separate database, which is slightly different from our database. But our database was more, the journey and onwards is different. The upward is same. So I can still use the same database. And improve it a little bit, and develop as a automate. Lot of.
So for the time being, Jay, my recommendation is don't even worry about augment.
I'm not running.
Right.
I'm just saying,
Ah.
I'll keep it like that, and then do it. I'll modify it.
So maybe prefix the name.
Once I get the document, as I wanted to operate, then how do I store this into data? Then, such a thing. Then what happens if this day, some other day, access? So a lot of business logic thinking.
Triggered automatically.
Because
Definitely, sir.
Definitely.
That's
what I see. See, today, actual coding is throwaway. I don't care.
It's all about now design thinking.
Design. So that's why I'm more interested in actually storing the design data. Design everything. I'm sending design things to see if you have any idea. So these are ideas. see if it is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I know even that whatever I am saying today,
It is in the right direction. We are asking the right questions because these are fundamental questions.
correct.
And the thing is, once when you make a fundamental choice, usually it introduces what we in architecture refer as brittle energy.
Yeah.
Right? As we go further, when we want to add a new thing, what all the parts have to modify is the indication of the brittleness. If let's say I can essentially have one database, one microservice chain. Then what happens? Tomorrow, anything in any of my app changes.
The whole thing is changing.
So it's a highly brittle approach.
Yeah.
So it's all a trade-off.
Yeah, they said, recently, old systems now. Each one was a god.
Yeah.
Each one had its own service.
Yeah.
And each one had independently manageable things.
Yeah.
That was forced because that was only, that much only the hardware could handle.
Hardware, right? That's the fundamental idea behind a microservice.
Yeah.
Right. So what is the smallest unit that gives you certain business services, and it is flexible enough that tomorrow it can easily evolve. Good.
I'm easily able to map things in IT. The IT for me was a black box.
No. The speed with which you are jumping into the core of the matter is amazing. Seriously, I'm not flattering you because there is a very clear, ease with which you are progressing. You are not comfortable with the tools, which is understandable, which is okay, but you are very much comfortable with the concepts, which is very important. Because tools can fit onto concepts easily.